Well, you guys can keep talking. You don't have to, just because this is going doesn't mean you're going to be quiet. The
Right.
point is to capture.
Okay. But yeah, when Tom and I were doing it, chess and spelling were new, and rally, cheerleading stuff.
Oh my
gosh. And I know it's much bigger than that now, but
Are we started?
Yeah, we're just not balanced yet. I move stuff around and now the,
And you're so subtle, because I never know when you've actually started.
yeah, there's no like clapperboard.
Yeah, I know.
okay,
Yeah, that was fun, yeah.
we got 19 minutes.
Okay, thank you. Lynette Fisk, when did you come on board? Tell me the story of how you came to be here at Concordia, and especially how you came to be hooked up with
Yeah.
Dale Fisk.
Well, it's an epic story. People who know me probably have heard it many times. I'm from the Midwest, from Iowa. I grew up in a Lutheran family, was always going to go to Seward, Concordia Seward, and marry a pastor. That was my goal. That was what I was going to do. I just always knew that. Until I taught Vacation Bible School and found out I was terrified of being trapped in a room with little kids for 2 weeks. It was horrible, and I can't do this for my
Oh,
life.
because of course that would be assumed that you would be a vacation Bible
Right,
school teacher.
well, or that I would have
Absolutely.
5-year-olds, but, you
Okay.
know, but it just turned me off and terrified me so that I can't go and be a teacher. I just can't. What am I gonna do now? How am I gonna do my goal? And we happened to have a parish worker at our congregation at that point, and she said, well, go to St. John's. And I didn't even know about St. John's. But St. John's College, Winfield, Kansas, was the only school in the system, besides St. Paul's and Concordia, that wasn't a Concordia. And it was a junior college, and it had a liberal arts program, and it had a 2-year program for parish workers, which was basically a glorified administrative position. It could be a pastor's assistant with an emphasis in religion or in music, or in business, I think. And so that's what I did, and it was a 2-year program. I happened to be engaged to a guy from home, so it was perfect. I could go to school
Seminary
for 2 years.
students?
Oh, no.
Oh,
No,
you
this
you
was
gave
a-
up the age.
no, this is the guy from Iowa who was going to be a Marine. And my mom didn't even like him, but, you know, I was in love. So that was, I could go to school for 2 years, I'd work for 2 years, and I'd get married. You know how you think you're gonna plan your life. So I went to Winfield, and I loved it. And it was a lot like Concordia in a way, small college campus. I was in the choir, took organ lessons.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I was a music, that was my major, was parish work and music. And so I took conducting, and I went to play the organ, and I had been a piano student. And when it came time for the call process, because parish workers were considered rostered
Oh, okay.
church workers, and we had a call ceremony just like teachers did. And there were always calls to parishes all over the country, many times to California, because there were lots of churches in California. And that's where my boyfriend was stationed, so that's what I wanted, was a call to California. That year, there was not a call to California anywhere. And so they called me in, they said, well, the closest we can get you is Denver, Colorado, but it's a big church, big parish music thing. And they told me, and no, gently, I didn't have the musical chops to do the job, which was true. I was learning organ, but I really wasn't very good, you know. Not good enough to be in a big church with a huge organ. I just didn't have that. And so they said, we can get you to the West Coast. There's an opening in Portland, Oregon, but it's an institutional position. And I had no idea what that meant. I had to go look it up on the map to see where Portland was. So in the wisdom of the Midwest, Portland, Oregon was close to San Diego because it was on the coast. And so that's where they had me. So that's how I got to Portland,
What year was that?
1971.
Okay.
And it was a 2-year program, so I was only like 2 years. I wasn't even 21 when I got here. But I lived in a house that was torn down for the library on Junior Street with 3 other gals who were all teachers in the high school, which was still on campus at that point. But that's how I got here. And so that year, I met Dale and these other gals, and there were 2 other single teachers on campus, guy teachers. And we'd go out to dinner together and celebrate birthdays, and we were just social. that's how the Christmas parties got started, because we wanted to give back to the faculty, because they were always having us over for dinner and taking care of us. And so we threw a Christmas party and invited all the faculty, or other faculty, just as a thank you thing. And so I knew Dale socially. We were friends. We knew each other. But I was dating this guy who subsequently dumped me about Palm Sunday that spring.
That's
Told me
something
I'm
that
getting married.
You marked it by the maternity
Well,
leave.
no, it
He
was.
dumped you to say he was marrying somebody else?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So all the money I'd been saving to get married, I spent. And the first thing I did was take a trip, and the second thing I did was buy a car. And Dale said, I'm going to help you, because he knew I was clueless. So he went with me to help me buy a car, so I didn't get completely taken, you know. But he was one of the first people that I told that I had broken up with my boyfriend, because I just told about 3 or 4 people strategically, you know, I broke up, please don't ask me about it. Would you tell everybody that, so that people don't ask me?
Oh,
And
okay.
his response was, I've been engaged before too, I know how hard that is. We should go to dinner sometime and talk about it.
Oh,
And so that was,
so you did.
and so we did, yeah, yeah.
Wonderful.
I can even tell you what I wore and what restaurant it was.
What did you wear and what restaurant was
Oh,
it?
it was a purple, it was a purple dress, and it was Sylvia's done in Sandy Boulevard, but it's not there anymore. But, you know, it was important, it's stuck in my memory anyway.
And then you were twofold enfolded into Concordia's life then, because now you're married to the choir director.
Well, I wasn't
And-
married yet, that took a while.
Ah,
Took
okay.
a while, at least I thought it took a while.
But you were working all this time. When did
No,
you
I was
get married?
working. We got married in '73, but I was working.
Okay.
I was working on campus. When I came here, my call was to the Department of Public Relations, Recruitment and Development.
Yeah.
It was all one. Paul Scott was in charge of that. E.W. Hendricks, who was a longtime guy from here, was in there. And I spent my first summer as a mimeograph machine, mimeographing text materials for classes for that fall. And they had now that I know what I do with computers and have done so much with databases, when I look back at what I did that year, they had a huge machine with a typewriter that was stamping letters into little lead plates, which we put into these drawers full of lead plates of addresses, and then we'd run it through this giant machine and stamp addresses for recruitment letters that went out to all those kids. You know, it was a very interesting summer, but that's what I did when I first got here. was working
How
on
large was the staff at that time?
Oh, I don't know. The secretarial
Dozens,
staff.
hundreds?
No, the secretarial staff, there were about 8 secretaries, and they all just sort of adopted me. It was wonderful. But one of the things I did that summer, because that summer Christy Crook's Chorale was out on the road for the summer, and they were not only singing, but they were fundraising that year. That was a very early thing. One of my jobs was to read all the reports, and so I met him on paper, because I would read his reports, but he would talk about the different parishes and what the group sang and who they saw, and so I got to transcribe all that and read his letters. So I didn't even know him yet when that was going on, and then I met him at a concert when they got back at the end of summer. E.P. Weber took me to the concert, and that's where I met Dale.
So what was your life like then, once you did become part of this musical? It was almost like a team.
Well, in a way, some of it was hard, and I have to confess, I had some great sin involved. I had a little pride in being married to Dale. I thought he was famous, and I was very proud of being
Married to the great Lynette Fisk. Okay.
There was no greater thrill, really, than walking into St. Michael's on Christmas chorale concerts and walking down to the front and watching my husband from the back directing this, wonderful choir. And I spent many hours sitting in a pew watching the choir at concerts and in choir tours, and smiling at all the kids and trying to keep, knowing who was sick and, worrying about who needed aspirin at the break and that kind of stuff. So it was a team in that. It was hard though sometimes, especially the year we were on the road with Christy Crook's Chorale, because I knew the music so well, but I couldn't sing. I wasn't in the choir. I wasn't in Christy Crook's. I couldn't sing it. I had to just sit in the pew, and that was hard to not be a part of it.
My gosh.
Yeah, so that was a little hard.
How did he change when
Oh.
you became part of this?
Well, now we have a son who is 35. Dale was 30, or over 30 when I met him. And
Old man.
well, no, my sister thought so, but as I've seen my son mature, and as he ages, he gets more like his father, and I know what he was like in his 20s. If I had known Dale when he was in his early 20s, I might not have liked him, because he had a reputation of being brash. He said he was, you know, and I don't know, but I didn't know that part of him. I knew him only as an over 30 kind of guy, but he still was a bachelor, a confirmed bachelor. He warned me not to marry him. He said, I'm a bachelor, I'm not really. In fact, when we were dating, he told me that the choir was the most important thing in his life. And if I was really serious about him, I had to know that the choir came first no matter what. And I was willing to accept that because I knew how important it was and what a passion it was for him. But after we were married a couple of years, girls started coming to me and telling me, you know, Mr. Fisk knows now. He used to just be terrified of us when we had our period, but now he knows if we're crying, just give us a hug and we'll be okay. I guess you can't even do that anymore, but that's what, he became more empathetic with the girls because he knew they're going to cry no matter what, because I cried a lot. And I was only 22 when we got married.
Does that seem kind of odd, though, that if you're in the music, if you are in the arts, that is such a passionate and
Yeah.
emotional thing, and then to be afraid of people who have strong emotions?
Well,
so you rub those edges off a little bit?
He's a very private person, and so part of it was, I don't know, part of it was just fear of not knowing what to do with the girl, because he was a bachelor for a long time.
Okay. And you traveled with Christy Crux.
Sometimes,
And
not always.
I can't remember. You traveled on some of those choir tours,
Mhm.
but not all of them.
No, sometimes I was working. I couldn't
Yeah.
always go. And in fact, we were married in December, and in April or March of that year, he left for 2 weeks on choir tour, and I had to stay home. So, because I didn't have vacation time, and I couldn't go with him.
Were you involved with LAST from the start? And can you say a little bit about what that is? What was
Not-
your involvement?
Well, everybody on campus was involved in LAST.
Explain what that is.
Can we take a break and start over? I got one
Sure.
camera running out of film I didn't realize.
Mm.
No, that's okay.